So, in addition to regular practices in a rhythm of regular retreat, all of the research subjects I engaged had what I, for lack of a better phrase, call a regular group. And what I mean by regular group is it was a group of people that they engaged. Sometimes it was only once a year, sometimes it was quarterly, often it was every other week or monthly in their life. It was a regular group characterized by an extreme authenticity inherent in the relationships. One woman I talked to described it. It was a group of Christian leaders from different institutions in New York City. She described it as, for a bunch of Christian women, it was amazing how many curse words got said. It was a place where they felt like they could come to a space where they didn't have to be a professional Christian and they didn't have to be on all the time. They could be their most authentic self. Now, it's also important to note that the authenticity wasn't a place to give license. It was a place to be truthful. It wasn't a place to say, hey, you're angry, we're going to let you stay angry, or you're unforgiving, we're going to let you stay unforgiving. It was a place to say what was true and to be present to one another as God was inviting them to become different or transformed by the Spirit. It was a place to say the truth. I'm in love with my husband, or I hate my children, or I'm really angry with the Lord, or I feel excited about what God's doing in this life, or I'm called to this. It was also a place where others could speak powerfully into one another's lives. You're called to this. Don't give up on it. You should do this. We want you to have courage to keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't give up. Uh, it gave them accountability to do the things that they know were right. Keep going in that relationship. Keep forgiving. Keep extending yourself in love and generosity. It was a place of safety. And what we mean by safety, they weren't safe from conviction or challenge, but they were places that were safe from shame and safe from guilt. Places where people could be truthful and then invited back into the relationship with God to try again and move forward and take another step. And sometimes when the next step wasn't possible, it was in a place where the community, the regular group, could come along them and give them the strength that they needed to keep going. So this regular group was a critical element in all of these people's lives. Keeping them moving forward in relationship to Christ. It highlighted the reality of how important community is to this whole thing we call Christianity. The reality that no one has ever been invited to follow Jesus by themselves, not in the history of the universe. All humans have been invited to follow God in the context of other human relationships. Because at some point, we're going to need to tell the truth that's ugly and have someone say, you're not outside the love of God. At some point, we're going to have to tell the truth of something that scares us, that we're called to something that someone's going to have to say, no, God is calling you to that, and God will supply all you need for that. He'll empower you, encourage you. No, it's not proud for you to know you're called to that. We want you to go for it. Sometimes we need the community just to come along and just help us take another step. It highlights the reality of the very nature of Christianity being a relational engagement. This regular group is critically important. So every Fuller Formation group has built into it a regular group. We don't use the language of regular group, we call it a small group. It's a small group generally of 4 people who have a mentor in that context who guides and facilitates that group, and they stay together with one another through the entire context of the cohort. And the goal is not that they become best friends or that they travel and journey with each other for the rest of their life. Now, sometimes that might happen, and that's a good thing, but it's an opportunity to be present to one another, to journey through a specific time and space with each other, to help each other keep going, to reflect Christ to one another, to reflect the scriptures back to each other, to be present to one another, to listen to each other, to affirm one another, to challenge one another. We built a regular group into it. Our experience in the formation group process is these regular groups are critical to everyone's experience of the process.